Hello and welcome to this crochet tutorial on how to make this handbag. This handbag is made with vinyl and with yarn. Here we will have the half double crochet and the reverse single crochet. I will also show you how to make this flower as a perfect accent for your handbag. So come join me and let's make this handbag together. The materials and tools that we will be using to make this daisy bag is, we're going to start off, here I have, is called marine vinyl. I suggest that you get 1/3 of a yard, which should be 12 inches, a full skein of a color. I have here Red Heart in the color Rouge. Also, you notice that the color vinyl that I chose is the chartreuse green. And then I'm going to use a lot of small amounts. I have a medium color that goes with my Rouge. It's like a rose pink. And then I have a lighter. So my suggestion is a dark, medium, and light of the same color blend. For the very center, I'm using the finger weight, so I'm going to blend these two together to create one color. And let me show you a finished sample of what we're planning on doing here. So you'll see the finger weight will blend together for the center of our flower here. The other tools that we will be using is a ruler, a pair of scissors. Here I have a decorative butterfly. I have a tapestry needle. We will be using a bead, so you want to make sure that you find a needle where the bead will fit over the hole on the bead. I'm using a pen, a pencil, a size H or a 5mm crochet hook, and this is a hole punch designed to cut an 1/8 of an inch hole, which we will be doing onto our vinyl. And one more thing I forgot to add is we'll need 2 pieces of paper so that we can draw out our pattern. So on our first piece of paper, what we're going to do is draw a 6.5 inch square. So if you just kind of etch around and draw your square, and then right here in the center I have like a 3-inch circle, and then draw a 5-petal daisy. Go around it a number of times until you find what is appealing to you. I encourage you to do 5 petals because, as I showed you in the materials, our little star will fit right here in the center to give the 3D look that we're looking for. So after you decide which one shapes that you want here of the 5 petals, you want to take your paper, place it over the top, and then trace around. And then after, let me show you what I've done already. And then after you have traced it out, okay, here I have traced it out, you want to go ahead and cut out the daisy. We're not going to use this, we're going to be using the paper part here. You'll also notice too that I did put a stem right here. I started to put a leaf, but because of the green, I didn't think it would tie in very well. So I just drew a stem with a little piece coming out, and we're going to go ahead and just drew a stitching line. That'll be fine for our little flower here. So after you've gone ahead and place it onto your paper, okay, we're going to come back and measure 1.25 inches on the outside and 1.25 inches on the other outside. That should give us 9 inches. And then we're going to go ahead and turn it. Now on this top we can go a little bit higher because of the stem coming out of the bottom. So I have 3/4 inch from the top, and I have a total of a 9-inch square. So go ahead and do that, and then cut out your daisy and cut on your stem line, and then we'll move on to our next step. So after I've cut my 9-inch square from my daisy here, I want to cut a 3-inch wide strip by 9-inch strip as well. So here I decided to bring it down 1/4 inch and then go ahead and draw the daisy around. And then where I cut for the stem, I drew my stem out as well. So after you've done that, take your square and go back up, and what we're going to do is draw around our square. So we have a 9-inch here. We're going to take our 3-inch wide strip and draw it for this piece right here. Then we're going to take the same 9-inch square and go on the other side of the 3-inch and draw the 9-inch square here. Do not draw the daisy here because we're only doing it on the front one. So what we'll have is a 9-inch square, a 3-inch by 9, and a 9-inch square with our daisy on it. After you do that, we're going to go ahead and cut out on this line right here, but do not cut this line. So to get started on the cutting it out of our daisy, we want to just go to the center and cut it with our scissors until we have a nice little opening right here. Then cut up and carefully try to stay on the line, and as you open your scissors, make sure that the cutting point of your scissors lines up with the last part you cut, and then close your scissors. Do not cut up to the tip because you will not have good control of it as if it was further back. Now I'm using smaller scissors. These scissors are made by Fiskars, so they are pretty sharp, but if you're using longer scissors, I encourage you to take shorter strokes so that you can go ahead and make sure that your cut is nice and straight. I'm going to show you what I have done so far. And this is how you want it to come out. You don't want a jagged edge, so it's nice and smooth. Go ahead and cut out just your daisy part, and then we'll move on to the next step. After our daisy part has been cut out, we can discard that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to find our corner, and we're going to choose 1/4 of an inch away from the edge, starting at a corner. So here I've marked 1/4 inch down, and we're going to go 1/4 inch over. This will be our corner hole that we're going to punch. Then we want to separate our punches by approximately 3/4 of an inch. We're going to be making long ones, or you can do 5/8, whichever I think will look good. I'll go ahead and do 5/8 here. So I'm going to put a little line. I'm going to mark it 5/8 along, and then I'll come back and go over and place my little X for where the 1/4 inch is from the edge. Okay, and I'm going to do that all the way around, and then on our flower we're going to kind of eyeball it because of where our how close it is, because of the curves and stuff. So these curves, you want to come up close, about 1/4 of an inch away. Now some of these where if you have a sharper point, you might want to come down a little bit lower. And then we're going to go about 1/2 an inch or so all the way around. The next thing we'll do is we'll take our hole punch, and you have to visually look at it now. Place it inside. Can you see where it's lining up here? And there we have our hole. So here's my second one. And then we'll go down, do one more here. Alright. This is what we'll be using to sew onto our crocheted bag. And the nice thing about these, they are made by Fiskars. They cost me about $4, and they have a nice little trap that'll catch the dots as they're cut out. So they do work very well on vinyl. I highly recommend them. So go ahead and do that, and do all your punches around, and then we'll move on to our next part. Wasn't that quite a journey? Here's what mine looks like. I cut out along my stem line and all the way around. I found drawing a line was easy. So the next thing that we're going to do, oh, by the way, this took me about an hour off camera, so that's all telling the truth. So the next thing we're going to do in our cutting out process is we're going to take our 3" by 9" paper and measure over 1.25 inches, and then draw a line down. Let me put that up there so you can see that. Then go ahead and cut that out, and then on the back of the vinyl you'll go ahead and draw your strips. The strips that we're doing is for the straps, so they're going to be 1 1/4 inch wide by 22 inches long. Here you'll see that I have 4, because we're going to sew them together. So this is what we're going to do so that it's reversible. So whichever one you choose will be the backing, the dots need to be in the same place. So my suggestion is to go ahead and place that 1/4 inch on both sides. But for right here in this area, I'm going to show you what to do. Let me bring the camera in a little closer. Let you know, I do use a GoPro because it does stay in focus no matter how close or how far I am. So let me bring it in closer so that you can see what I would like for you to do. So here I quickly drew in the 1/4 inch lines. So what I'd like for you to do is from the 1/4 inch line, go up 1.5 inches and go ahead and mark that. Okay. Then inside of that you want to draw an X. So what we're going to do is we're going to punch a hole here and here, one in the center, one here, and one here. So when we place it on our bag, you'll see that the 1.5 inches will cover right here into this corner. Okay, might want to do 1 inch. Let me do that again. So what I've done is, here's the 1/4 inch lines and this one here. So I came up 1 inch and I drew my line across. Now what I'm going to do is draw an X in the center here. And then we're going to punch the center one, and in the middle. So when we stitch this, we'll be able to have an X that'll cover it. And when we place it on our bag, it'll fit like this. So go ahead and mark your 1/4 inches and make sure that you have the 2 straps that have the exact same punches on both sides, and then we will move on to our next step. Before we move on any further, I wanted to show you something that I found to be pretty easy to making sure that they line up properly. Here you see I put my lines in and made my holes. So I just took my second one, it does not have any markings on it, lined them up, and I'm going to take my hole punch. Can you see where the hole punch will line up with that hole? Let's see, there we go. Okay, and it punched all the way through with no problem. So that's my suggestion on doing this. Putting the 2 together, lining up the punch, and then you can punch right through, having the holes that you need. I still have my other sets of straps to do. Carry on. This might take you about an hour as well. It's been taking me a little bit of time too. Now that we've prepared these pieces, we're going to go ahead and put them to the side and start on our crochet. As I stated before, these 2 yarns here are a fingering weight yarn, which does add up to the size 4 yarn that we will be using. So let's start with a small tail. Let's place a slip knot on our hook. Now the first chain you're going to want to be a little large, and we're going to start with a chain of 13. 1, 2, 3. Continue on until you have 13. I hope the colors that you choose do a nice blend for you. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to skip this first chain that's right here, and we're going to place a half double crochet into the next chain, and we're only going to be picking up one loop from that chain, but make sure you have both colors. And in the same chain, another half double crochet. Now for the rest of the 11 chains, because we're not going to be doing the last one, I would like for you to place 2 half double crochets in each chain. You'll notice as you go along, it'll start to curl on you, and that's what we're looking for, is for that curl. So 2 for each chain except for the last one, and I'll meet you there. So as you can see how it's already starting to curl, which is what we're looking for. Now in that last chain, we're going to be placing 10 double crochets. So let's go ahead and do that. Here's 1, 2. Remember, you're going to be going over that slip knot and into the other side. So go ahead and place 10 only in this last chain, and I'll meet you when you get there. Please pause your video. Now to make things easier, I would like for you to count back to that very first double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here's number 10. So that way we're not confused with our half double crochets. So place your finger on that double crochet and take your curly and bring it in front of you. And then take your hook and go into that chain stitch that's right there on the right hand side of your double crochet and make a slip stitch. And what we have here is our double crochets have now formed a circle. And if you look at the front, this will be the base for our curl rose to sit on, as so. We are now ready to cut our yarn. Go ahead and leave a little tail and pull it through. So the next color that we're going to be using is the light of our 3 shades. I'd like for you to leave a short tail, place a slip knot on your hook, and in the same stitch that we did the slip knot, place a single crochet. It's a little cumbersome, but it can be done. Okay? Let me move all this stuff out of the way so it's not in view of our crochet, and I'll be right back with you. Oops. Alright, so to move on, we're going to chain 3, So here's where we're at in this chain. We're going to skip the next chain, and in the next chain, single crochet. Chain 3. Take note of where this one is at. Skip the next one, and in that next one, single crochet. Alright, we've done it, or we have 1, 2 sets of chain 3s. Continue on until you have 5 sets of chain 3s, and we're going to slip stitch into this first single crochet. I'll meet you there. Know that little curly likes to flop around on you. Okay, so let's make sure we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and our slip stitch is in that first single crochet. So let's move on. We're going to slip stitch into the chain 3 space, chain 2. Now in this chain 3 space here, 1 half double crochet, 1 double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, and at the top of that double crochet, go through the top 2 loops and do a slip stitch into all 3 loops on your hook. Double crochet, half double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, slip stitch into the single crochet. So on to the next chain 3, we're going to slip stitch into that space, and we're going to do the exact same thing we did here. I will show you this one more time, and then I'll let you go on your own. So chain 2, half double crochet, double crochet, chain 2. We're going to do a slip stitch into the top part of the double crochet and go through all 3 loops on the hook, double crochet, half double crochet, chain 2, and slip stitch into the single crochet. So we now have 2 petals done. Continue in the next 3, and I'll meet you at the end. And we're not going to cut our yarn. And this is what we have so far. Looks cute, doesn't it? Alright, so let's go to the back, because we need to pick up right here in the middle, but we need to go to the back first to pull all this stitching back. So pick up one of these loops back here, and that'll pull all that back, and chain 2. Now where our 2 double crochets are, we're going to separate them, and in that we're going to place a single crochet. Now if you're wondering what we're doing, this is going to allow the extra row or the next row of stitching. Let me show you here for our other petals, but we didn't want another color showing, so we're using the same color as the row we're on. Okay, so we have our single crochet here on our chain 3. See how it all blends right in? Okay, now chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and skip over to our next petal. Find the 2 double crochets and separate them. Add your single crochet, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, keep on going. Separate your 2 double crochets, single crochet, chain 4. I'm going to speed up a little bit. I don't want this video to be forever for you, even though I know it will take you some time to make this purse because of the preparation of the vinyl. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're almost at our last one. Okay, separate at the double crochets, single crochet, chain 4. Now you're asking, what about the chain 2? Forget the chain 2. That was just there so that we could pull over without going into the stitching of the previous row. Now we're going to slip stitch into the single crochet. Oh, now before you cut your yarn, we're going to want to stitch these down. So let's leave a long tail so that we can stitch them down. Maybe about 18 inches. It's always better to have too much than not enough. And then we're just going to pull it through that last loop. And we're done with that color. So this is what we have so far. Go ahead and arrange it. Okay, so here we have our stretch out. And then later we'll also put our bead in there, and that'll add a little touch and it'll hold all of that down. So let's move on to our next one, which will be our medium color. Place a slip knot on your hook and I'll meet you there. So let's move on. We're going to place a single crochet on one of the chain 4 that we have in the back. Chain 2, double crochet, a second double crochet. Our next stitch is going to be a treble, and to do a treble we're going to wrap it twice around the hook. Through 2, through 2, through 2. That'll make our stitch a little bit higher. Chain 2, and then right here in the top, go ahead and we're going to do our slip stitch through all 3 loops on the hook. Let's do one more treble. Two double crochets, chain 2, and then single crochet at the bottom. Okay, and if you've come across your loops, just place it behind you and then move on. Right here in our single crochet, we're going to do a slip stitch, and then on to our next chain 4 space, single crochet, and we're going to do the same thing we did here. I'm going to show you one more time. Chain 2, 2 double crochets, 1 treble, chain 2 through those top 2 loops of the stitch, and then slip stitch through all 3, a second treble, two double crochets, chain 2, single crochet, and a slip stitch in the single crochet of the other color. Alright, so here we have 2 of them done. Go ahead and finish the other 3, and then we'll be ready to move on and start our bag. I'll show you what to do when we get here to the end. So at the end, we want to leave another long tail, about 18 inches. We can use that to sew it down when we place it onto our bag. And let's go ahead and get out our dark color. We'll finish this up when we actually place it onto our purse. But here we have our nice little flower. So to start our bag, we're going to place a slip knot on our hook and chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. In the second chain on the hook, from the hook, right here's our first one, we're going to place a half double crochet. And continue with your half double crochets to the end of the row. You should have 10 of them. At the end, chain 1 and turn your work. You will continue with the 10 half double crochets and chain 1 until your work covers the length of the bottom of our bag, which is our 3 by 9 space right here. Since I haven't finished my actual rows, I will tell you in just a minute how many rows you will need. But this is what we're trying to do, is to fill in this space right here. Go ahead and do that, and I'll tell you in just a second how many rows I did. The magic number of rows that I have completed is 24. I wanted it to have one row hang over the edge of the vinyl so that it would give more of a complete look. Let's get started now, and we'll start going around the edges here. So to start going around the edges, we're going to pick up 2 parts of the stitch from the last row, and we're going to place a single crochet in each one of these stitches on this row. And then right here where the stitch joins to the top of the other one, you're going to want to place a stitch there. So we're going to continue this around where we're going to place 1 stitch in a stitch and 1 stitch in a row. Keep going down this until we get to the corner, and I'll show you what to do there. At our corner, we already have 1 at the end, so we're going to add 2 more, so we have 3 in that corner. Okay, this is our regular row, so go ahead and add 1 at the corner, add 3, come on down, add 3, and across. When you get here, add 2 more, because we already have the 1, and then finish it off. And I'll meet you when you've completed this row. Please pause your video. So at our last stitch, I've already cut my yarn. I'm going to go ahead and pull it through and tighten this up. Now let's go ahead and start. We'll be starting here in the center. This will be our center back. So go ahead and place a slip knot on your hook and let's get started. So somewhere in the center, doesn't have to be exact, but somewhere in the center is where we're going to be placing our chain stitches so that we can start a new row. What I'd like for you to do is you'll notice that on the top of our stitch here has that V look. I'd like for you to go into the back of that one and also the one that's part of the single crochet as well. So we're picking up 2 stitches like this when we do this row. And each stitch that we're going to be doing in this row will be a half double crochet. So let's place our finger on our loop, yarn over, pick up those 2 stitches, and complete our half double crochet. Do 1 per stitch all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. So go here, here, all the way around. I'll meet you here. To finish our row, we're going to slip stitch into that first half double crochet. We're going to chain 2 and continue on with our half double crochets around. You'll do this all the way around, row by row, until this bottom right here is the same length plus 1 row so that your purse will extend a little above, or however much you want above our vinyl. So continue on, and I'll see you in a few minutes. Video time. So please pause your video and let's get our bag made, and then we'll be next to sew our vinyl onto our bag. Well, that took some time, didn't it? You'll see here from our line at the bottom all the way up, I did 22 rows, and this will give me 1 row above our vinyl. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the finishing row, which is the reversed single crochet. I'm going to move my camera in closer. Let's get started. After you've slip stitch into the top of the chain 2, chain 1, and let's get started. This first one here is part of the slip stitch, so we're going to skip that. We're going to go into the next chain, and we're going to be headed this direction. So if you're left-handed and the hook is on your left side, you'll be going this direction. So for the right-handers, we're headed towards our right hand. Does that make sense? Okay, so with the loop on our hook, place your finger on it, go in like you're going to make a single crochet, and pull up a loop. Okay, that loop that you pull up needs to be on the hook side of the loop, not on this side, but we want it on that side. Okay, then yarn over and pull through, and this is what it'll look like. It looks kind of stretched out, but that's okay. Let's do it again. Place your finger on the loop, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop. Okay, remember to keep that new loop on the hook side, yarn over and pull through 2. Let's speed it up a little bit. I think you're going to find that this stitch is super fun, and it gives a really nice edging to whatever it is you're working on. Scarves, purses, hats. Continue around until you get to the end here where we'll make a slip stitch and then weave in our ends. So with a needle and our yarn, go ahead and pull out about 20 inches. The reason why I give this amount is because you don't want it to fray. We can always tie it on the inside of the bag to add a fresh piece when we do our weaving. Okay, we're not going to add a knot because we're going to weave the end in or tie it off and then weave it in. So the first thing we're going to do is you want to find your bottom, okay, and then fold it over, and then make sure your ends are even on both sides, and then we're going to go straight up like this. We're going to take the back side, make sure that you've punched out your holes for your straps, and then we're going to bring it down to that one row to give us a nice straight edge to start off with, and make sure that on the bottom we have the same amount. Well, I don't have here, so I'm going to slide it over. It should be 1 row and 1 row. Okay, can you see that? The 1 row of the half double crochets and 1 row of the half double crochets. And then we're going to bring it down 1 row. Okay, and I'm going to start here. I'm going to pull up. Oops. Of course it came out. Never a dull moment. That's usually what happens on film. And I'm going to leave probably about a 4 or 5 inch tail on the end. And of course my needle came unthreaded. And we're just going to go and do the simple weaving in and out process. As so. Go ahead and do that all the way around, and then I'll show you how to add your straps next. So the next thing we do after we've gone all the way around is to start on the flower. You'll notice here that the holes that I punched, I decided to fill in instead of making it a running stitch so that it would look like a full stem. Next, I'm just going to do the running stitch all the way around the flower. It is your option if you choose to fill it in. Go ahead and do that, and we'll work on our strap next. We're almost done. So next we're going to do our straps. Now I'm going to make a suggestion. What I would like for you to do is have a length of yarn left, like 12 inches or so, so that you can sew this on. But what we're going to do is go this side, and when you get over here to this side, start a new line and have like 12 inches and then go this way. I'm going to work one up real quick and I'll show you what I mean. And then the 12 inches we will use to place on our bag. So here you can see I've woven both of them together, and on one end I have the 12 inch as well as on the other end, and because of the punch holes I lined them up with my punch holes, and now I'm going to go ahead and sew it on. So I want to make sure that I get into the correct holes so that we can go ahead and sew these through all layers. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make my circle, and then I'm going to go ahead and make my X to reinforce it by having extra stitching in here. Go ahead and do that to all 4 of them, and we'll be ready to add on our flower, and then we'll be finished. I like the look of this bag. Makes me happy. I love the color of this red and the green that I chose. So let's go ahead and work on our little flower here. Remember, we started here, so I'm going to go ahead and with the yellow, I'm going to make a nice little square knot. This is going to be underneath, so we can cut that off. Alright, now I asked you to make a long of one color for the light pink and one for the darker pink. So what we're going to do is we're going to be sewing the tips of those little flowers down, because they're on the outside, and it probably is going to get a lot of usage and rubbing on your arm and things like that, and it would just be nice to have it secured on the bag itself. So we're going to start with the dark pink. Let's pull this light pink up through the center. You saw right here in the center. We'll just pull that right up, because we can always go underneath again. So let's load the needle. Alright, now the 5 petals, you want to find the center and where it will look nice for where you want it. Okay, and where our thread is coming out, we're going to tack it in between, and we're going to tack the tips. So let's go out here. I'm going to pick up a couple of threads here, and I'm going to go over it twice. So there's 1 and 2. Okay, now we want to go underneath, and we're just going to come up where that chain 2 is at. See right here? We're going to pull it out and go over that twice. Make sure you put your hand on the inside so you don't accidentally sew the back of the bag too. But make sure that as each time you do that, now you can stretch these out just a tiny bit, that it's in the location of where you would like for it to be. Go ahead and do the dark pink, and I'll show you how to do the light pink, or you're going to get the same idea. You're going to tack it down right there, okay? And then I'll show you how to do the yellow. And we're almost done. Doesn't that look pretty? I know this ain't tied down yet, but let's go ahead and do that. I've used the size of the fingering yarn, and I doubled it. So we want to make our center that will look nice, and we want to come up from the bottom so that this center right here is where our bead is going to set. So I want to come up once, like I did here, leave a nice little tail, place my bead on there, and go back down into that same hole, or in the same area. So we come out back here, tighten that up, I love it. It reminds me of the Morning Glory flower, which is one of my favorites. We're going to go ahead and tie this on the back, and then we are done. Now you can start jumping. Yay! and you can start using your bag right away. I bought this butterfly and can't really decide where to put it. I love the look of the flower and I didn't want it to be taken away by adding the butterfly. Well, I'll figure something out later on. But to end this, this is the look of our bag. It does have like a little square bottom. If you need to reinforce it, you can always use like a heavy cardboard or the plastic canvas. I feel that whatever you put into it, it will be how you want it to be. It is big enough for a laptop. Now if you wish, you can also make it so that you can fold the ends in like so, and you can add a little string that'll help pull it in, so that way when you walk around your bag will look like that. But I'm preferring to leave mine open like this so that I can have it close to me. If you also choose to put a closure in it, which I'm not because I don't want it, you can put one of those snaps or a magnet and it will close nicely for you. So I want to say thank you for being with me during this video. I really hope that you enjoy your bag. I designed it for beginners so that it would be very simple for them. Please come back again for another crocheted or whatever tutorial I'm going to come up with. It could be cooking, could be sewing, anything. I enjoyed having you here with me, and I hope you enjoy your bag as much as I do. Till next time, bye-bye.